Andrew Brown, Tony Chow.
Yeah.
We don't have Herman on, do we?
No.
So,
We are live.
all right. So we'd like to welcome you to the July 2020 Public Works Commission meeting. So we're going to have a call to order. We're going to be doing this via Zoom. We have this live on YouTube, and this has been posted on the city website. So we're going to do a roll call real quick, Tim.
Commissioner Tuckett.
Yep.
Commissioner Tarlis.
Here.
Commissioner Wunderlich. Commissioner Huff.
Here.
Chairman Mortland and Holman.
Here.
Here.
So we have a quorum for the meeting. Currently not present is Commissioner Metz, Pelk, Brown, and Chow.
Okay, thanks. So I'm going to do approval of the minutes, and then after that, I'm going to pass the baton. So has everybody reviewed the minutes that Tim sent out?
Yes.
And is there any questions or anything from that standpoint? George?
I move approval.
Move approval. Is there a second?
Yes. Second.
From Bob Tuckett. Okay. All those in favor to approve the minutes from May 18th, 2020?
Aye.
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 Any nays?
Aye.
Nope. All right, the minutes have been approved. So at this point, I just wanted to say to you commissioners and to Tim, it's been a great pleasure working with you. I've learned a whole lot, and I really appreciate your experience, your knowledge, subject matter experts in stormwater and just overall in zoning. And it's been a pleasure. I'm actually kind of sad we've got a lot of things going, and I know, fortunately, right now with some of the budget things things aren't speeding up, but you're a very valuable commission, and we appreciate your time. But I will tell you that you're going into really good hands. Pam is very well read, and she knows exactly what's going on. And I think it's a natural progression going from parks to stormwater. So I'm going to hand this off to Pam. I'm going to stick around for a little bit. I actually have a fire board at 5:20. So, but again, it was nice meeting each one of you, and thank you for your service to Town and Country and for all the citizens that you help.
Thank you, Ryan. Tell my buddy Don Larson hi.
I will do. I will do.
Thanks, Ryan.
So Pam, I don't have like the official. I don't have the official baton, but I have the ball. The ball is yours.
Okay, throw it. I'll catch it. Okay, so
right.
Shall we keep moving the meeting forward, Tim, on to new business?
Absolutely. So the first agenda item we have tonight is HR Green for the 2020 Stormwater Program Study. In your packets, you have their proposal that includes 5 new projects identified in 2020, as well as revisiting 11 projects remaining from both 2011 and 2017. So HR Green has done the previous cost benefit analysis for us. We've been very pleased with the service that they've provided, and all the information is in your packet. So any questions? Looks like we got Herman join in now, so. You're muted, Bob.
I keep hitting my FaceTime on my cell phone and it keeps showing me and then it disappears right away. Anybody can help me out on that?
No, Dave, you're just gonna have to do the meeting with no video and just do your audio.
Okay, got it. That's what we did last time. I thought I was gonna get a break here, but I guess not. Go right ahead.
I'm on board, Tim.
All right, we see you here, Herman, thanks. So we're on agenda item A, the HR Green cost benefit analysis for the 2020 stormwater study.
Tim, can you remind me on the cycle of the re-ranking of the projects, the timing of it?
Yeah, so typically we do an annual cost benefit analysis to include new projects. When we do the new projects, any project that has not been addressed within a 3-year cycle, those projects are also reevaluated to look to see if there's a change in condition or any factors that may adjust either the cost or the benefit points that they receive. And then so annually, those projects, the 3-year cycles and the new ones are then added into our current list, and that adjusts the ranking. So in addition to the new projects and projects that have not been addressed in the 3-year cycle, any project that a property owner reaches out to the city and requests an additional evaluation because of a significant change, if deemed necessary, we will include that in the analysis so that, you know, if there's a substantial change from last year to this year and it's, you know, identifiable by the city, we will have them update and relook at that project as well. So you're not at a minimum, it's a 3-year review.
Thanks.
Well, it seems their proposal, if I'm reading this right, at 30,801 is pretty reasonable for what they got to do this year.
Yeah, that's correct. We've been talking with HR Green and looking at historical costs, and their mean hourly rate from 2015 to today is fairly consistent. There are some categories where you will have that percentage increase that's fairly common, but they've also had the ability from doing it as many times in the past is to streamline the operation. So our significant savings that I think we see is in the hours of work that it takes them to produce that work product.
Yeah.
So. Any other? Go ahead.
I was going to say the same thing. Any additional comments? Are we ready to vote on this?
Not their proposals is pretty well standard. I didn't see anything outstanding or out of the ordinary. There's the same type of proposal. So I will move we accept their proposal.
Second.
Second.
So I got Tuckett with a first and Wunderlich with a second.
Puff.
I think he beat you on that one, Dave.
Yeah, I did a second on that.
All right, I got Bob Tuckett first for approval. Dave Huff is a second. And then we do just a voice vote for all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
And then
Aye.
Herman and Dave, since we don't have video for you guys, I'll do you individually. So Herman.
I say aye.
Okay, and then Dave Huff.
What do you want?
Either an aye or a nay. So either you're in favor.
Okay, aye. Yes, right.
Okay.
You can't see me, right? You forget
That's
that. Yeah,
unanimous.
okay.
Then we have unanimous approval for the HR Green cost benefit analysis.
Okay.
All right.
Radcliffe?
So the next agenda on the item is item B. Radcliffe subdivision has requested a speed limit sign for their subdivision. You will have memo that is dated September 20th regarding the speed limit sign. We have included the subdivision trustees' request and signatures. In addition, we had a map for a property owner that has indicated that they are okay with having the speed limit sign placed adjacent to their property. However, since the packet went out this Friday, we met with one of the trustees on site, and they have an existing street identification pole that's right at the corner of Trafalgar and West Ham. That is closer to the front of the subdivision where we could attach that speed limit sign. It'll save them some money with not needing to install a new pole, and we can attach to the existing.
Does that require an ordinance?
So there is a speed limit table, and we are still determining whether a speed limit sign that is the exact same as our existing ordinance of 20 miles an hour would require any additional action. Since it's not changing the non-posted speed limit, we're not confident that anything needs to be codified to address a consistent speed limit despite being posted.
Just asking.
We have speed limits in Thornton. They're just a sign that says 20 miles an hour.
Right.
They ignore them like they ignore ours.
Yeah, 20 mile an hour is can be challenging when you have some grades like you have in Mason Valley at around Peacock Farms and
Yeah, especially the flat grades.
In maybe one of the least controversial votes, I move for approval of this.
Second.
do we have a second?
You do.
Who was the second?
Bob Wunderlich.
Wunderlich. Okay, Tarlis for first. Wunderlich for second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Metz, are you in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Huff?
Yes.
All right. That is recommendation for approval unanimous from the Public Works Commission. On to agenda item C. This is our last item in your packet. This is for street escrows. This is slightly different than what we're currently collecting for new house construction and or temporary occupancy. We're looking for a recommendation to modify section 500.130 of street guarantees. This would include construction of swimming pools, remodels and additions to assess a street escrow or an escrow in relation to those projects. We have provided a table. Our current recommendation for the threshold of amount is $50,000, but we provided the table which gives you the breakdown of valuation of permit that exceeds both 50,000 and 100,000 for conversation and direction.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dave.
This is for you guys approving building permits, right? For houses and stuff, right?
This is not for houses because we already do an escrow for houses. This is for building permits that would not rise to the level of a new house construction, but this would be for building additions, remodel additions, any, a pool, swimming pool installation. So
Okay.
this would,
That's not my question. We have a trust here in Thornhill, and we collect money because we own the streets, because we have to repair them. This is over and above that, right?
that's correct. This doesn't replace anything existing. The only thing that this would do is encompass more permits that the city currently issues and does not currently collect an escrow for street work on.
I think the
So-
question that he might be asking is, if the street is a private street, say as ours used to be,
Mhm.
um,
We would still collect the escrow.
you would still collect the escrow. That's the question I had.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
So there is
Okay,
there is
so
no
that-
Tim, because a subdivision can also collect an escrow. We have it in our indentures that we can collect an escrow.
Yeah, and that's currently what some subdivisions do now, even with new house construction. So with new house construction, the city collects a $5,000 escrow, and many of the existing subdivisions like Thornhill or others collect their own separate escrow for new house construction. The
Okay,
only
so
thing,
you're not negating what's already in the subdivision indentures.
that's correct. The
Okay.
only thing that this is doing, or what this recommendation proposes, is capturing more projects that are currently being done in town that no escrow is being collected for from the city. So, typically when you're looking at your, house construction, every house construction, we pull that escrow. But if you're not tearing your house down and you're only having a swimming pool installed, that threshold and that impact on the street can sometimes be significant, maybe to the curbing or other areas with the additional trucks that are going to be on the street. So this would just collect a broader spectrum of projects that then would have an escrow to help protect the streets and or cover any damages that may or may not be corrected by the contractor.
This is going in our ordinances, and we always have this conflict between the ordinances and the indentures that are in each individual trust. Is there a way, something we can put in here that just repeats what you just said? And the reason why I'm asking for it is that we have people coming in and they don't even know we have indentures or anything else like that. And our board should do a better job, but it doesn't do that. So we're having some problems with correcting things that they're doing that they don't even know about.
Yeah.
And I just would like to get a little more of a cross-reference in here so that people can't say, well, I didn't know. And they should be aware of that. They should go ahead and also say, if you could mention in here that this does not include what is collected in the neighborhood trust. See your neighborhood.
Yeah, so we don't enforce subdivision indentures, but when we do have projects like house constructions and other projects like that, there's typically a requirement for some kind of confirmation that the subdivision trustees have either signed off or have been made aware of the project. And that would be the subdivision's opportunity then to convey those requirements to any builder or anybody that's doing it then. But if you've seen our zoning map, you've got, I don't know how many subdivisions with how many different subdivision regulations and requirements. And we don't have the ability to, one, know every requirement that the subdivision indentures have and or try to enforce them, because that's beyond our scope. So we put into the city code, which, as you said, if you guys collect escrow, would help supplement that. Would, you have two escrows then to protect your street, but you guys are, Thornhill would have to, be the ones to provide that information and provide that enforcement to any builder on what your regulations are.
What I'm asking is, or is there something that we can do, something very simple, just to go ahead and the person who is reading this, just call their attention to the fact that they also should check with their neighborhood escrows. Just one sentence.
Yeah, so we wouldn't reference that in our municipal code, but we do have, I believe, on our applications for, as I said, with either ARB or planning and zoning, that you need that subdivision approval. So again, not something that we would reference in our municipal code, but we do have documents in place to require sign off from the subdivision, which then if the builder or the contractor or anybody is coming to the subdivision to get signatures, that's then your opportunity to convey any additional requirements, restrictions, or information that you need.
Okay, that's a clerical process that you have, and I understand that. We're having a difficulty, particularly on the larger neighborhoods, of communicating to the folks that they also have to be aware of what we've been talking about. And I just think that a footnote, a commentary, or something in our ordinances should reflect that. So when they're going online, to look at all this information, they will see that notice.
It's something that we can look into for you, Dave. I'm not aware anywhere else in our municipal code that we do any referencing for subdivision indentures, but we can look into it, and if it's something that is possible, we can look into adding it. But again, I don't think in any of our code anywhere we're referencing subdivision indentures.
So
Yeah, okay,
Tim,
well-
I have a couple questions for you, just to further on that thought. One, is there an urgency with this?
Is there an urgency on this?
So where I'm heading is maybe tabling it till our next meeting. And as I'm looking at the language, many of these types of reconstruction or additions do not even go before the architectural review board, where that resident might be cued to, our city ordinances supersede any indenture, but you need to make sure you're working with your trustee and understanding your indentures as part of the process to do a reconstruction, rebuild, or even new build.
Mhm.
But if this isn't, this is addressing a lot of those projects that our architectural review board do not see. And I know we're in the process of relooking at their duties and responsibilities, but I don't anticipate those changes coming within the next probably 2 or 3 months. So maybe it's worth just taking a moment here, thinking about that, and adding a one-liner that this is our city code, but adding some type of tagline referencing the additional indentures.
Yeah, I mean,
What's your input on that?
that's definitely something that we can look at and bring back if the commission wants to table it till next time. Again, I'm not aware that we have anywhere in our code that we would reference any subdivision indentures, like I said, other than what we do on our permitting or application process of getting the subdivision to sign off.
Right, that was my point, and I was gonna ask Laura. Don't we have a provision when you get the building permit that you've got to have approval from the subdivision trustees?
So Town and Country cannot require that the trustees approve the plans. It's just that they've been notified. So this language also speaks to interior remodels that may not normally the city require any kind of trustee notification. It could be, in first floor remodel, basement remodel, overall house remodel that breaks that, $50,000 or $100,000 threshold, that would then queue up the $5,000 escrow that they would have to add.
Let me give you an example of what we just had last week in Thornhill. The neighbors got all excited about because one of the new people who moved in a year ago started painting yellow stripes in his driveway so he could go ahead and park his commercial vehicles, which of course are not allowed in the neighborhood anyway. And he didn't know anything about that. And so I had to call Tiffany, and then Tiffany called Bob Sheldon, and then Bob Sheldon went ahead and did whatever he did. And then we talked to this guy, and he said, well, I didn't know anything about this kind of stuff. How am I supposed to know?
I don't think that's allowed by city ordinance either. So it's not that they
Correct.
checked with us.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a
Just
real
that they
life
went
thing.
ahead and did it.
We have this problem, and it's the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand, and I've had it for years. I've been here a long time, and we just do a lousy job because of whatever the legal mumbo jumbo is of letting the people know informally, if nothing else, that they got to check with both, and that's all we're asking.
And that's when, if it's a addition or pool, something of that nature, new house, that's when we require the trustees to be notified, and that's where we get that information from. But if
Okay.
you're asking for that to be added to the code, like Tim said, that would be, to my knowledge as well, the first reference that we have as far as giving up or telling them to go to another regulatory, agency or body for their property.
I understand all that, but in fact, he brought on a commercial vehicle, which he has in his driveway. It's a big van and all that, and it's very obvious. He works on apartments. He owns apartment buildings and stuff like that. So it becomes his office, but it very clearly states in the ordinances you cannot have a commercial vehicle unless you can put it in a garage. He didn't know anything about that.
So Dave, I think we're getting a little off topic here, and I think we probably need to bring it back to the agenda item, which is the escrow for projects either over 50 or 100. So I get that you have certain things going on in Thornhill, but I'd encourage any more discussion on this topic now, or if there's additional information that the commission wants, we can get and provide.
We are the Public Works Commission, and if nothing else, we should pursue this because this ends up being a public works problem that affects the city manager.
Yeah, but again, the parking of a commercial vehicle on a driveway is not what this agenda item is for escrow. So let's.
Oh, I understand that. I'm using this to bring up another item that is associated with, and that we have to do a better job between communicating the requirements of the ordinances versus the requirements of indentures. And they get confused because there's nothing in our indentures that go to things that you guys already cover in the ordinances, like parking commercial vehicles.
So the question is do we want to take additional time to look at this with the information you've provided, Tim, or do we want to take it to a vote this evening? It's A or B.
Correct.
Well, that okay, but I mean, we're talking stuff that now affects the whole neighborhood because it goes to the look and the feel of the neighborhood. And it's as people put more and more things on their house, not knowing they can't do that, then we need to come and work closer together, particularly when we have a board, which we have right now, who's quite frankly very lazy and had to wait till all the neighbors complained about it before they called in and got Tiffany to start working on it.
So that's your problem. It's your board.
So my question is if somebody moves into your subdivision, do you provide them with a new resident care package that informs them some of the information?
Well, that would be a good idea. I tried doing it, but I couldn't get it through when I was on there, as far as it goes, but I would
So
not.
if
I
you're
don't
not,
want to repeat.
Dave, if you're not enforcing your indentures, how are we supposed to?
I'm not saying that. I'm not asking you enforcing anything. I'm just asking you let us both know. We don't go ahead and repeat what you guys have in the ordinances. We
Right,
don't
but
say,
if-
by the way, you're doing it here, you better check the ordinances. We don't say that.
If you're not providing the builders or the property owners with what your indentures require, then you're asking the city to do that, which again, we encourage those builders to reach out to the subdivision trustees, to notify the subdivision trustees. But our limitations are enforcing what our codes are, our municipal codes are, and not the subdivision indentures. So
Matter of enforcing, I'm not asking that. I'm just asking, letting the left hand know what the right hand is doing, because we have this turnover of people and we got a large neighborhood and we just don't do it. And the thing that's out there for most people to look at is the Town and Country website.
yeah, so I don't think you're ever going to get anything on the Town and Country website that has specific subdivisions indentures on them.
Oh, I didn't mean that. I just mean referring to them, that they should.
Tim, can we just move on?
Tim, if we
Just want
pull this for a month, what are we going to know a month from now that we don't know right now?
I think that you would probably just get more information regarding what our municipal code will require and what we can or cannot put in it regarding to individual private subdivision indentures, which is pretty much, I think, what I'm telling you right now. But it would
I
just
understand it.
be.
I've been here since 1981. I understand all that, but I'm just telling you that letting the left hand, not knowing that the right hand even exists and out there, it used to be the responsibility of real estate agents, but they don't seem to be doing that anymore.
So Dave, you're
In the
making
end,
an
it's the responsibility of the
assumption.
homeowner. It's the responsibility of the homeowner and the subdivision. I mean, I
Correct.
why it's
Yeah,
confusing.
Dave, you're making an assumption that the city doesn't tell people to reach out to their trustees. I get frequent calls about fences, which I understand, I don't have copies of every set of indentures in front of me, but I do
Yeah.
understand that those are very controversial within each subdivision, whether or not they allow them or don't allow them, with or without a pool. So I do, whenever people do call and ask me about them, I do say, you need to reach out to your trustees to see if that's allowed by indentures. If it's not, then you have a lawsuit on your hand through the trustees, even though the city can approve it legally. That's something that you need to reach out to them for. Now, the example you gave was somebody that just went ahead and did something without asking permission from neither the city nor the subdivision. So we can't help those situations.
Well, I understand that, but if it's done in ignorance, which it is, because how are they supposed to know, then there seems to me that we should have some way of calling that to somebody's attention until, so we don't have to worry about all of a sudden people complaining about something that's already done.
But Dave, you're then making the assumption that we can look into a crystal ball and determine which homeowner is going to paint stripes on their driveway and park commercial vehicles and go tell them they can't do it before they do it. So there's a difference between it, as Laura was saying, of what's kind of reasonable expectations of here's what we require, here's what we tell builders and property owners to go to subdivisions, and whether they choose to do that or not is no different than a builder where we say, here's what your requirements are. You can't start construction before 7:30 a.m. and then 3 weeks in, we get a call that somebody's doing construction at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you can't, even you can tell everybody, you can write it down, but you're still going to have those individuals that are they're
So-
going to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. And again, it's
I'm not trying. I understand what we can't do. I'm just trying to figure out a way that we can find out what we can do.
So the question is can we add a sentence that this does not exclude your indentures? And Tim, what you have shared is we haven't included that language on any code or ordinance that you're aware of. So taking the additional month to research that, what you're telling us today is that does not exist, and that it's really the trustees' responsibilities to reach out to their homeowners to make sure that, one, their indentures are up to date, because right now I have a lot of trustees reaching out to me who are reviewing their indentures who are dated back to the 50s and 60s, and the language is dated. So one, that they're up to speed, and then two, that their residents who live in their community are aware that they're in fact indentures. But with regard to what's on the table right now is if we are all comfortable moving forward with this proposal as written, or if we wanted to take another month to add this does not exclude your requirements of your indentures.
I suggest we get it all cleaned up and bring it back for vote.
Anyone
I
else?
move we accept the proposal.
There are two
I'll
kinds of
second
lawyers.
that.
okay, so let's, okay, if we're going to two different directions, what if we're gonna, let's have the two votes then. If we're gonna have a motion to table, let's have that motion, a first and a second and a vote. And if that does not carry, then let's have a second motion to approve first and second, and then we can vote on that. I don't think that in a month, again, for my knowledge, we don't have anything in our code that references private subdivision indentures. I know that as Pam was saying, in I think it was 2017, the city attorney, Steve Garrett, gave a presentation to subdivisions about their indentures,
Right.
about some of them with the legality of their indentures, on whether they were following their procedures properly and their votes, and if they could actually enforce them or not, and suggested everybody cleaned them up individually. But again, that was a subdivision, that has to be done by the subdivision, not by the city. So
Right.
Right.
yeah, I guess Pam, if you want to entertain a motion, and then whatever that motion is, we can proceed from there.
Because I think we're split on this. So let me ask you this. Is it possible to make an amendment to this sitting here tonight? Or if a proposed amendment is a simple statement that this is.
So what I would say is if the commission wants to have some language in there, I think you guys can make a motion to approve, to move to the board, and between that time period, we can, if you want us to do further research on indentures with subdivisions and any kind of reference that we can do in the code, we can make those changes or modifications, and or the Board of Aldermen can make those changes or modifications between first and second read. So the recommendation tonight or tabling tonight, I think there's a couple different ways to go. So again, if we made a motion to recommend to approve, and this went to the Board of Aldermen for first read, and the decision was made to add some language in there, that could take place between first and second read, and then still be approved.
Right.
If it was determined between this approval, the first reading, and the second reading that we don't currently have any language about indentures in our code, and that it's not advisable to add any language in about indentures, then it would just continue as is.
Right. So that would, so if we passed it tonight, goes forward to the Board of Aldermen, that would give me the 2 weeks to look at the language and bring that amendment forward, so we can move this process along. So
Yes.
I would motion to take a vote on the recommendation as written this evening.
Rob, I'll now make your motion.
So I got Tuckett as a first, Wunderlich as a second.
Actually, it's reversed.
Okay, Wunderlich as a first. Tuckett as a second to approve.
Right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so that's unanimous to move forward as submitted.
And just so you're aware, we could probably add language to the building permit application, you know, to,
Right.
you know, kind of reach out to your subdivision trustees as well. It's on there, it's not prominent, and we can make that a more prominent feature.
That's a good
That's
idea.
a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be helping to make situation, not telling them what they can't do, but helping them figure out what they want to do the best way.
Right.
It's the attitude. I like the attitude that way better.
Yep.
Tim, were we making a decision on the 50 versus 100K?
So we didn't, we had no change in the section 501.130 that was written that says in excess of 50,000.
Yes, okay.
So with the motion in the second,
We're good.
we would move forward with the 50,000, unless the commission feels that we should revisit that motion and make an adjustment. But if everyone's comfortable with 50, then I believe that's what we would move forward with, as shown on the packet on the red line.
Right. Where we voted for.
And so then I will, once this goes to the Board of Aldermen, I'll report back to the commission on any amendments made to this ordinance. Okay. Okay.
We're done.
So that leaves it for new business. We have no old business. So I guess the only thing left would be a.
Speaking of old business, I'm having to hop off to go to the fire EMS board meeting. So again, it was a pleasure with all of you, and keep up the good work. So I'm gonna hop off.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks.
Tim, did the commission receive a notification from you with regard to our Director of Public Works?
Yes.
They have.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, okay. Good, I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of the change there.
I also heard we're not allowed to ask questions, so that's okay.
It's a personnel matter, so
That's right. It's a personnel matter and I can't ask questions.
that's great.
Out of coincidence, I ran into our farmer director not very long ago on the train out at the zoo.
Oh.
Mr. Wilde, he's doing well.
Good to hear.
Okay, Tim is,
Move to adjourn.
right, thank you. Second, can I second that? Second.
Yes. Sure.
Anyone? Well, I'm gonna have Pelican as a second.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, we are adjourned and Laura is gonna turn us off YouTube.